Shalom, family. It's good to see you all. All right. So, we are going to talk about this precious 15-year-old that lost his life way too soon. Quawan Bobby Charles. All right. Just going to give it a few minutes for more people to come in. I hope everybody is doing well. Okay. All right, everybody. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to everybody. Well, I wish this was a better story. You know, it's always hard to see somebody this young lose their life. And, I've heard more development since I posted this whole thing for the live stream. And we're just going to talk briefly about this whole situation in the family. And I mean, what a tragedy. What a tragedy, y'all. Okay, just got to do one more thing. Okay, let's see here. Okay. All right. All right. Let me see if I can share my screen with y'all. Shalom to everybody in the chat. Shalom to you. Okay, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. All right. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We're going to talk about Quawan Bobby, which from what I understand, that's what the family normally called him, was Bobby Charles, a 15-year-old that went out with a white family, a 17-year-old alleged friend, and the mother. And, of course, his family is upset because he's a minor and they didn't get any permission for him to go out. And I certainly can understand that as a parent. And, any mother should know better. You don't do that to anybody. But the whole thing just got stranger over these last few days. Come to find out, ladies and gentlemen, the white family that removed him from the house, that took him, moved. Now, why would you just up out of nowhere move after, there's an investigation, his body was found, and all of a sudden, the last 2 people he was with, they suddenly move. All right. That in itself seems very strange. And why would you allow them to move when there's an investigation going on? And the reason why I'm saying this is because if he was with this 17-year-old and the mother, I believe the last name was Irvine, wouldn't you need to go into that house to see if there's any evidence in that house, or maybe Bobby left something behind in the house, or something of his is in there? You just going to let them move? And part of me believe that's why the police lagged on this whole thing. They lagged on this investigation to allow them enough time to get the hell out of town. You know, these folks are in cahoots with each other. You can't put nothing past them. That's the way I see it. All right, so this is a tragedy. From what I understand, this man is his father. This was his only son. The mother had 6 other children, from a different relationship. She had 6 children. So altogether, there were 7 children in this household. Okay, so this is always a tragedy to lose a child, but to lose your only son and you have no other children, that makes it even worse. So, wow. So this is his father, Kenneth Jocko. Okay, so the disappearance, mysterious death of 15-year-old black boy, and they live in rural Louisiana, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, the family wants answers, and they're very upset with law enforcement because they did not act in the first few hours that he was, gone. And the family was trying to reach out for help. And the police department, which is Baldwin Parish, where they live, said they were very lackadaisical in even moving on this thing. So the body of Bobby Charles was found on November 3rd, and he was found in a sugarcane field. Now, they're saying it's suspicious because his body was submerged in water. So how did he go from a body of water onto a sugarcane field? He certainly didn't do that on his own. See, the police would want nothing more than to rule this a suicide and move on. But because of the circumstances, they can't exactly do it and justify it, because this kid was drowned. Okay. He was murdered. There's no doubt about it. Now, another big part of this story, he was found 30 miles north of where he lived. Now, he didn't have no vehicle. He certainly couldn't drive himself there. So how are you, a white parent, going to pick up a minor and go 30 miles away with him? How did he get 30 miles away? See, this is why that family should never have been allowed to move. There's too many damn questions. Okay, so he was found in a sugarcane field in Iberia Parish, according to the sheriff's office, that said they are investigating the suspicious circumstances. So they have not released all of the details about his death, but he went missing 2 weeks ago. Quawan's parents said the sheriff's office told them that their son had drowned in water and was, water was found in the lungs, and muddy water was found in his airway. But, I'm glad this family is getting a private autopsy done. They really need to get that done, because unfortunately, in America, these police departments and coroner offices are in cahoots with each other. So they'll just automatically find something where nothing needs to be investigated. That's how they'll do it. All right, so they're saying likely drowning with muddy water in his airways and hyperinflated lungs. The preliminary report indicated that he did not have injuries before his death, and the condition of his face was likely caused by aquatic animals while he was in the water, it read. But that's not a certainty. You know what I'm saying? That's not a certainty. That's just you taking a guess that this is what happened to his face. And again, I can't trust these people. Their history is so horrendous, I can't trust them. So, ladies and gentlemen, his cousin, Cecilia Charles, and I did see an interview with her. She said they called the drowning explanation bogus. The family's not buying it. Okay, so if he drowned to death, you still did not explain how he got onto the sugarcane field. You didn't explain that. So, Quawan's parents reported that his disappearance from his father's home in Baldwin, Louisiana, was on October 30th, according to the family attorney, Ron Halley. Baldwin Police Department took a report, Halley said, but gave no indication over a few days that they were searching for the teen or actively investigating his disappearance. Instead, they suggested Quawan might have gone to a football game, and they were talking about if the boy had a troubled past. Well, that bothers me. Okay, it bothers me because you're suggesting he went to a football game without verifying anything. And even if he went to a football game, you don't disappear for days going to a football game. So, I mean, I got serious issues with this sheriff's department, this police department. Okay, so Baldwin's assistant police chief has not responded to calls from the Washington Post, and the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office referred questions to a Tuesday news release stating its investigators have interviewed multiple individuals and collected physical evidence, which is being processed. Quawan's family said they learned through a third party, a 17-year-old friend, and his mother, Gavin and Janet Irvin, had picked up Quawan at 3 p.m. the day he went missing. Okay, so what does this mother and 17-year-old business have any business picking him up, a minor, and you didn't go to the door and talk to the family before you pulled off with this minor? You know, look, I have taken my son and his friends places. If we would just take a little day trip somewhere and come home, I've taken some of his classmates with us. But I never, ever removed any child without talking to a parent face to face first. Now, we have an aquarium here in New Jersey. A couple of his friends and my son and myself, we all went to the aquarium together for the day, had a good time, and I paid for our meals. I told the parents they had my cell phone number. You can call anytime and talk to your child while I have your child. I mean, I made sure I covered every single base before I pulled off in that vehicle with somebody else's child. Once I pull away, I am 100% responsible for anything that happens to that child while they're in my possession. So being that this child ended up dead, that family should never have been able to move until a full investigation was at least done. I mean, it's just red flags all over the damn place. So it was around 3 p.m. on October 30th that he went missing. The same day, the 17-year-old and mother came to pick him up. Ken Jocko, who's his father, said neither him nor the mother even knew he went with these people. And so I don't understand. Well, I guess if your intent is to kill a child, you might not want to do the norm, right? So on the 3rd, the family was accompanied by the Iberia Sheriff's Office 4 days after Bobby disappeared and before his body was found. So this is horrible. So, they claim, oh, they wanted just to spend some time together. Even if you wanted to spend some time with this child, you still notify the parent he's a minor. Ladies and gentlemen, when I was a child, and I believe I told many of you this before, my mother wouldn't allow me to do sleepovers. If, classmates or some of my close friends had a sleepover at their house, I was never allowed to go. Now, my parents never blocked me from hanging out with my friends. That was fine. But sleeping over at their house overnight, I was never allowed. I used to be upset about it when I was a child because, you would hear about the good time they had. But now that I'm older and I'm a mother and I have lived, years being a parent, I understand. And I'm actually grateful that my mother did that because I knew now, she had my best interests at heart and my safety. That's all she was looking out for. She didn't want me to be violated at somebody's house or possibly something happens and I'm staying overnight at somebody's house. Let's face it, some people don't care about your children like you do. And if something happens, they ain't gonna do nothing. So you do have to take all of that into consideration. Okay, so the police did discover his body at a nearby field, and this was in Iberia Parish. The family said they haven't even heard from the Irvins at all since this whole thing happened. The last people he was seen with. Never heard from these people. And I did hear an interview with the mother. She said she tried to reach them, couldn't reach them. So the Post attempts to reach the Irvins by phone and at their home. And, they lived in a trailer park, ladies and gentlemen, in Louisiana. They lived in a trailer park on Wednesday, but they were unsuccessful. A relative of the trailer park owner said the Irvins had been evicted, but he did not say why. So they are no longer there. And I'm not even sure if the police know where these people are at this point because it doesn't have that kind of update in the story. So they're claiming there are no suspects that have been named in the case, and it has been designated as a homicide. Yeah, because you don't have a choice. See, you can't get away with that suicide stuff. But this kid was lynched. Now they said, he was 5'7" and weighed around 112 pounds. So he was not a big person at all. Wow. Wow, what a tragedy. And it said his father was very emotional even doing this interview. And I guess he was. How horrible. All right, y'all. I have also, let me just get rid of this. I have a video for you to watch. Just give me 1 second here. And this is the family attorney that's in this interview that just came out about a day ago.
6:43, and this morning, the Baton Rouge area NAACP and the ACLU of Louisiana are leading calls for a thorough and independent investigation into the suspicious death of 15-year-old Quawan Charles in Iberia Parish. He was reported missing on October 30th, and days later, his almost unrecognizable body was found in a sugarcane field nearly 30 miles away. Joining us live now is Ron Haley Jr. He is one of the attorneys representing Quawan's family. Ron, good morning to you. Always great to talk with you. Hate that it has to be about these cases that are making local and national headlines. This case starting to get a little bit more attention, but for folks who are just learning about this, what do we know about what happened on October 30th?
First of all, good morning, and thank you for having me to help elevate this issue for Bobby Charles. On October 30th, Bobby Charles went missing. At approximately 3 p.m., his mother called his cell phone. He did not answer. After calls later, they realized something was wrong. The father went into his room and realized that he was not there. That was about 7:30, 8 o'clock on October the 30th. The family immediately contacted the police. The police put Bobby's name in a missing persons database, but did little to nothing afterwards. On November the 2nd, Bobby's mother started to do her own footwork. Only at that time, law enforcement officials pinged his phone, and they were able to kind of get an area where they thought he could have been. Then, unfortunately, on November the 3rd, a mother, a father's worst nightmare came true when Bobby's unrecognizable body was found in a sugarcane field in Iberia Parish.
There's still a lot that obviously needs to come out in this investigation, but it has eerily similar circumstances to the death of Emmett Till 65 years ago. For their part, the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office is investigating the death, and in their most recent statement, Sheriff Tommy Romero said, and I'll quote here, investigators have interviewed multiple individuals and collected physical evidence. An autopsy has been performed and the results are pending. Investigators have updated the parents of the juvenile and will continue to do so throughout the investigation. In a separate interview, the sheriff told reporters that investigations like this take time. So what are your concerns with the handling of this investigation?
Well, from moment number one, listen, we know the most critical times when you have a missing person, in particular a missing child, is the first minutes, the first seconds, the first hours after that person has gone missing. And we feel that this case was not handled with the appropriate care at the very beginning, at the very onset of the case. It was not. An Amber Alert was never issued. Local media outlets in the Iberia Parish area were not notified that there was a missing child. Matter of fact, once they were notified after Bobby was dead and they were notified by the family, they were all in shock that they never even heard that the child was missing. So from that standpoint, when from the beginning, if the family was met with lack of empathy, lack of concern or care, or not the level of concern or care that they want. So of course they have questions about this investigation. Furthermore, they have been kept in the dark. They've had conversations with Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office, but guess what? The family does not know how Bobby died. They have not been given the initial findings of that autopsy. We are in the process of commissioning an independent autopsy. That autopsy should be finished today, and we would have the results by the weekend. But it's unfortunately that the family would have to go through such an expense just to find out how he died. Additionally, if law enforcement would have intervened in the beginning, one of two things probably would be true. One, either Bobby would still be here. Two, if Bobby wouldn't be here, his killers would not still be on the loose.
And we should note that the mayor of Baldwin, where Bobby went missing on October 30th, has told our affiliate in Lafayette that he has concerns over the police chief there in Baldwin, saying that he hasn't seen or talked to him in about 9 months. Now, there is more to come out of this investigation. And taking all of that out of the equation, we are talking about a 15-year-old boy here who tragically lost his life far too soon. Can you leave our viewers with a sense of who Bobby was and the teenager that his family is remembering this morning?
Bobby was a quiet young man, but with a keen sense of humor. He was loved. He is one of 7 siblings. He was his father's only son. The family right now is just absolutely devastated, heartbroken, and they are in a fog. And they're in a fog because they do not know the answers. And they are set to bury Bobby next week. And as of right now, they do not know how Bobby died. They just know that it was a horrific circumstances surrounding his death that is evident by the pictures that have been circulating of Bobby's remains. And but we're going to remain vigilant. We ask anybody in the public that knows something to say something.
Ron Haley, attorney representing the family of Quawan Bobby Charles, joining us live this morning. We appreciate your time and, of course, praying for justice for that family, for Bobby's family. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with a look at your morning headlines.
All right, y'all. Wow. It just seems to me like, this whole thing. And I thought it was interesting that that police chief said he has not spoken to the mayor of Baldwin in 9 months. So that tells you they got some friction there. But yeah, well, the family, from what I gather, they're getting their own autopsy done, which I would 100% agree with. You can't go by the coroner office that's in cahoots with the police department and sheriff's department. It just doesn't work. So I hope they finally get answers. I hope somebody saw something that can tell them. It just seems to me like this whole thing was a setup. That's what it looks like to me. The entire thing was a setup, just by the way that family came and took him away, and and he's a minor, and I just don't like that. I don't like when you are dealing with children and an adult is not going to even speak up about, can your child, first of all, can your child even go with them, period. you know it just, as a mother, you don't do things like that. You don't take somebody's child and you don't say nothing about it. I took one of my son used to play video games with this other black child that lived not far away, but we lived in a different location at that time. And we had him over for the entire day, and I drove him right back home. And again, I gave the mother both my landline and cell phone. And I told her, you can call anytime and talk to him. I'll put him on the phone anytime you call. And that whole transit, the whole day went nice. They had a good time spending time together. But I wouldn't dare, you know, as far as taking a child somewhere, no, you definitely talk to the parents about that. So, we have to learn how to teach our kids reality. This is a dangerous world that we live in, a very dangerous world. And in the Black community, we haven't seen a moment of peace. For 500 straight years, we haven't seen anything that resembles peace in this country. And we just got to do a better job and bringing reality to our children about this world, so they don't go out here all naive and believe they can trust any and everybody. You can't. You can't. Unfortunately, in this world, you got to proceed with caution, even if you're a child. This is how it is. I wish the story would have turned out different, but I don't believe those injuries on his face came from aquatic animals. And the only reason why, what is the time between him being drowned and being placed on that sugarcane field? That has never been determined at all. The person or people that did this could have lynched him, drowned him in water, and then immediately put him on that sugarcane field. That doesn't necessarily have to come from aquatic animals. Without you having a real timeline, you're only speculating that those injuries on his face came from the water, which I don't believe. I don't believe that came from no aquatic animals in the water. I don't. Then if you're saying that, then you have to admit how long he was in that water. And if you can admit how long he's been in the water, then you're going to have to determine how he got from the water to the sugarcane field. Who did that? Who did it? He didn't do that by himself. You just see one side of his face look like that. So what are you saying? So how was he even in the water? Yeah, I don't believe those lacerations on his face came from no aquatic animals. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I don't know if he was, but something definitely happened to him. Somebody did something to him. He didn't do all of that on his own. No, that mother and that 17-year-old should have been placed in custody, or at least on some kind of arrest, and not able to leave and go anywhere. When I look at his face, it looks like skin is missing. That's how it looks to me. I mean, it may look like a burn to you, but it looks like skin is missing in those spots on his face. Maybe it's me, I did see the picture of him. I can't show it, but I did see it. But it looks like skin is missing from his face. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Tanya Thomas, I do believe that. I believe he was tortured too. I think that's why his face looked the way that it did. But no, I don't believe what that, they're going to come up with an explanation that don't point to any individuals, because they don't want anybody that look like them to be responsible for this death. I mean, let's be real. So if you can put it on aquatic animals for his face looking all distorted, then that frees someone from responsibility of harming him. Oh no, that was aquatic animals. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. That's just a way out for somebody that did it. Did the aquatic animals drag him from the water to the sugarcane field? Did the aquatic animals do that too? Y'all full of crap. Thank you, John L., for the super sticker. The super chat. I'm sorry. Yeah. But I truly believe the last people he was with know everything from start to finish of what happened to him. I believe they know everything that happened to him. And I pray the family gets answers in the closing, some kind of closure they deserve. I think it's a horrible thing when somebody dies and you don't know how the hell they died and who did it. What a horrible thing. I mean, that is absolutely tragic. The ethnicity, King Khalid, they were both white. It was a mother and her 17-year-old son. They were white that he went with. And they never even informed the parents they were taking him. And that alone seems suspect to me. It's almost like I said, they planned this whole thing out. He was set up. Thank you, Loveline Turner, for the super sticker. I believe he was set up. When they went to pick him up, they already knew what was going to happen to him. These people are crazy, and they got all kinds of effed up rituals that they do to Black men. How do we know this is not an initiation or a ritual killing for white supremacy? We don't know that. I mean, they do that crazy shit. So everybody, I'm going to end the live stream only because I got another one coming up with Brother L. If you're all more than welcome to come over and listen. That'll be, a little about 2 hours from now. But yeah, I'm going to try to keep up with this story. What a tragic, I think the last time I felt this way was Trayvon and Tamir Rice. It's always a whole different ball game when it's someone this young. It really is. It could be, nothing can be ruled out when we're dealing with these folks. Nothing can be ruled out. All right, everybody, please enjoy the rest of your day. Shalom, family. Thank you, Solo Dolo. Thank you for the super chat. Peace, family.